A millionaire invites a cleaning lady to a high society gala as a cruel prank, but she arrives like royalty and shocks the entire room with a truth that changes everything. Comment below where you're watching from, and get ready for a story filled with secrets, revenge, and a twist no one saw coming. The grand chandelier sparkled above the sea of tuxedos and gowns in the ballroom of the Whitmore estate. Nestled in the heart of Beverly Hills, it was the annual Whitmore Foundation Gala, a spectacle where the rich came to parade their status, masked behind faux philanthropy. And tonight, it was all just part of a bigger game, at least for Everett Whitmore. Sipping his glass of Dom Perignon, Everett grinned smugly at his circle of wealthy acquaintances. "Wait until you see our surprise guest," he whispered, his voice laced with mischief. Everyone chuckled, but no one laughed louder than Everett's wife. "Claudia, you actually sent her the invitation?" she asked, pretending to be shocked. "Of course," Everett replied, "gold envelope and everything. Told her the dress code was maximum elegance. Can you imagine?" He turned his eyes to the grand staircase. And then, the room shifted. Descending the marble steps in a satin black gown that shimmered like ink under the lights was a woman no one expected, not like this. Delilah Hart, the cleaning lady. But tonight, she didn't look like someone who scrubbed their bathtubs. No, she looked like she owned the room. The gown hugged her figure flawlessly. Her natural curls were styled into a regal updo. Diamonds sparkled from her ears. And the look in her eyes, calm, unbothered, powerful, silenced even the boldest of whispers. For 2 years, Delilah had been sweeping floors and washing windows in this very mansion. She had mastered the art of invisibility, watching from the shadows as people like Everett smiled fake smiles and whispered venom behind one another's backs. To them, she had always been furniture, present, but unworthy of attention. But tonight, she wasn't invisible. Tonight, she was unforgettable. "Is that her?" murmured Caroline Ashbury, a senator's wife, clutching her pearls. "No way. That dress must be rented," scoffed Bianca Geller, the daughter of a Silicon Valley tech mogul. "I give her 15 minutes before she flees in tears." What none of them knew, what Everett Whitmore certainly didn't know, was that Delilah hadn't borrowed, rented, or faked a thing. She had stepped straight out of a past that Everett had worked hard to bury. As she reached the final step, Everett met her halfway, putting on a fake grin. He extended a hand. "Delilah," he said, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. "What a surprise." Delilah tilted her head slightly, eyes scanning the circle of smug elites surrounding him. "You didn't think I'd come?" she asked gently. "Oh, no, I knew you'd come," Everett chuckled. "After all, it's not every day someone like you gets invited to an event like this." Delilah's smile didn't waver. "Someone like me?" He blinked, hesitated for a fraction of a second. But arrogance got the better of him. "You know, someone who doesn't usually run in these circles." "I see," she replied, her voice soft but cutting. "Well, I suppose every circle needs shaking up now and then." Nearby guests stopped chuckling. There was something in her tone, calm, yet commanding, that unsettled them. Everett cleared his throat, trying to steer the moment back under his control. "Well, I hope you enjoy the night. It should be enlightening." Delilah's eyes gleamed. "Oh, I'm counting on it." He forced a laugh, then turned to the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce our very special guest this evening. The Whitmore Estate's very own cleaning lady." Laughter erupted, sharp and mocking. Flashes from phones lit up the room. Photos were snapped, snide captions already forming in people's minds. But Delilah didn't flinch. She didn't lower her eyes. She stood tall in the center of the grand room, calm as the eye of a storm. Claudia leaned in to her husband. "Maybe that's enough, Everett." "Nonsense," he said, waving her off. "I'm giving her the night of her life." Bianca and Caroline slithered closer, venom in their smiles. "Delilah, darling," Bianca sneered, "tell us, how did you manage to find that dress? It must have taken forever to find something even remotely appropriate." Delilah turned to her, completely unfazed. "Actually, this dress belonged to my mother. She wore it the last time she attended a gala like this one." "Really?" Bianca asked with an exaggerated pout. "Where'd she find it? A vintage store clearance bin?" Delilah's smile turned razor sharp. "No, she wore it here, In this ballroom, 20 years ago, before she became someone your husband paid under the table to stay quiet. The air left the room like a vacuum. Everett's smirk faltered. What are you talking about? He asked. His tone lower now, eyes narrowing. Delilah turned toward him fully. Her voice steady. You really don't remember my mother? Elaine Whitmore? A few gasps rippled through the room. The last name alone cracked the illusion. No, that's impossible, Everett said, stepping back. My mother was your father's wife before your mother, she said, slowly pulling something from her clutch. A ring. Not just any ring, the original Whitmore family ring. Gold, thick, engraved with the crest and a rare aquamarine stone only passed down to the true heirs of the Whitmore legacy. She left it to me, Delilah said, because unlike you, she never forgot where she came from, or who she really was. Whispers exploded around them. Wait, is she saying she's a Whitmore? Everett has a sister? No, that can't be. Everett's eyes darted around. You're lying. You're a fraud. That ring could have come from anywhere. Delilah gave a small nod. Good, then I guess I should let the rest of my guests come in now. She motioned to the entryway. Everett frowned. Guests? The doors opened. 3 figures entered, calm, composed, and with eyes that told the room this was no ordinary twist. The first, Nadia Blake, a Pulitzer-winning investigative journalist. The second, Michael Joe, an inheritance attorney with a reputation for ruining billionaires. The third, Dr. Raymond Ellis, the Whitmore family's private physician. The room shifted again, this time not with awe, but fear. Dr. Ellis? Claudia asked, clutching Everett's arm. What is going on? Everett's face went pale. Delilah turned to the guests with a slight smile. You see, everyone came tonight expecting a show. And I'm here to deliver one. Just not the one Everett planned. The room had gone silent. You could hear the chandeliers hum with electricity. Everett's confident smirk had vanished. He watched as Dr. Ellis stepped into the center of the ballroom, clutching a folder and looking 10 years older than he had when he walked in. The weight of secrets hung on his shoulders. 20 years ago, Dr. Ellis began, his voice steady. I was pressured into signing a false medical report, one that said Everett's father, Charles Whitmore, died of heart failure. He glanced at Delilah, then back to the crowd. That wasn't true. He died from arsenic poisoning. Slow, deliberate, methodical. Gasps rippled across the marble floor. Claudia covered her mouth with both hands. Everett stumbled back a step. That's insane. You're lying. Dr. Ellis pulled out a sealed envelope. The toxicology report, run just last week, independent lab, blood samples matched with DNA confirmed to be Charles Whitmore's. Arsenic levels far beyond natural causes. Delilah stepped forward now, calm, poised. You thought no one would ever uncover the truth, she said, her voice even. You thought time would bury it. But see, I didn't come to this house by accident. I didn't clean your floors for fun. I came to gather evidence. To listen. To wait. Everett was turning red, trembling. You came here to spy? No, she said simply. I came here to get justice. Nadia Blake raised her hand and addressed the room. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd advise you to put away your phones. This is being documented for legal proceedings. Everything that follows is part of an official confession and investigation. People glanced at one another nervously, slowly lowering their phones. Michael Joe, the attorney, stepped forward. I represent Delilah Whitmore, legal heir to the Whitmore estate as outlined in Charles Whitmore's original will. A will that was destroyed and replaced after his death. Everett barked a laugh, but it was hollow, panicked. There is no other will. Oh, but there is, Michael said coolly, opening his briefcase. We located a safety deposit box registered under Charles Whitmore's name. Inside it, the original signed and notarized will, leaving 50% of the Whitmore estate to his daughter, Delilah Elaine Whitmore. He held up a thick document for all to see. A notary seal gleamed under the ballroom lights. You've got to be kidding me, Claudia whispered. Everett, is this true? Everett didn't respond. He was staring at the will like it was a ghost come to life. Delilah turned to the crowd. He told the world my mother was a liar. That she was never married to Charles. That I was some fraud trying to get close to power. But the truth always finds a way. Your mother was the piano teacher. Claudia said quietly. I remember. She was beautiful, kind. And Charles loved her, Delilah replied. But when he died, Everett had her cut off. Sold the house. Froze the bank accounts. Left us with nothing. Everett's hands were trembling. I was protecting my family legacy. That woman was a mistress. No, Delilah snapped, stepping closer. She was his wife, legally, and I am his daughter. A beat of silence passed, the kind that shifts everything. Then Delilah pulled out her phone. Still think I don't have enough proof? She tapped play. A recording played over the mansion's speaker system, Everett's voice. Unmistakable, raw, and cruel. Ellis, you say a word about what you found in his blood and I swear I'll ruin you. That woman and her kid? They're leeches. Let them rot. Guests gasped. Several backed away from Everett. That's taken out of context, he shouted. Nadia raised a second phone. Would you like us to play the rest? The part where you threatened to fire the head of Whitmore Pharmaceuticals if they questioned the missing millions? Everett's face went sheet white. Michael Joe closed the briefcase and stepped forward again. Mr. Whitmore, my client is filing a civil suit for $75 million for wrongful exclusion from the estate, emotional trauma, and damages related to inheritance fraud. You don't have a case. Everett growled. That money's gone. Long spent. Oh, but see, Michael said with a faint smile. When a death is proven to be murder, all prior inheritance arrangements can be overturned. You no longer control the estate. The courts will. Everett swayed slightly. Claudia steadied him, but her hands were shaking too. Delilah, he croaked. You've already humiliated me. Isn't that enough? Delilah looked at him, really looked at him. The man who had stolen her family's legacy, who had buried her mother in poverty and branded her a liar. No, she said, humiliation is temporary. Justice is permanent. The doors opened again. This time, 2 uniformed officers entered. Everett staggered backward. No, you can't arrest me. This isn't how this works. This is exactly how this works. Delilah replied. The officers stepped forward. Mr. Everett Whitmore, you are under arrest for obstruction of justice, inheritance fraud, and suspected conspiracy in the murder of Charles Whitmore. You have the right to remain silent. As they cuffed him, Claudia stood frozen in place, her face hollow. Everett turned toward her. Claudia, help me, tell them. But Claudia didn't speak. She just slowly took off her wedding ring and laid it on the table. And then Everett Whitmore, former king of Beverly Hills, was led out of his own mansion in handcuffs. Delilah turned toward the stunned crowd, eyes gleaming. You were all so quick to laugh, she said, quick to assume, quick to judge. But let me make one thing clear. I didn't come here to entertain you. She raised her chin, voice calm. I came here to end this. The Blackwell mansion had never been quieter. After Everett was escorted out through the grand doors, murmurs filled the void he left behind. Champagne glasses were left untouched. The air that once buzzed with smug elitism now brimmed with uncertainty. Delilah didn't wait for the silence to settle. She walked calmly to the stage where an orchestra had once played for Everett's grand entrances. She turned to face them all. For 2 years, she began, I walked these floors as your ghost. You saw me, but you didn't. You spoke around me, but never to me. You laughed, assuming I was no one. She looked toward Patricia Linley, who had once asked her to scrub wine from her shoe like it was dirt beneath her. But tonight, I remind you, titles don't make you important, and money doesn't buy character. Patricia looked away, suddenly fascinated by her clutch purse. Delilah continued, for years, Everett controlled the narrative. He painted my mother as a mistake. He called me illegitimate. But the truth? I was born of love. I was born of promises made in this very house. She pulled out a small velvet box and opened it, revealing a faded photograph. A younger Charles Whitmore holding a newborn girl. Smiling. Gasps rippled across the crowd. That picture was hidden in my mother's piano bench. She said one day, I'd understand its meaning. Today, I do. Suddenly, someone clapped. It was Helena Park, Everett's former assistant, who had always remained in the background. Her slow, deliberate applause echoed in the hall. Others joined. Then more. Not a standing ovation, not yet, but acknowledgement. Respect. maybe even remorse. Delilah nodded once, then stepped down. Michael Joe approached her at the edge of the stage. That was powerful, he whispered. We're just getting started, she said. Over the next few days, news of the scandal spread like wildfire. Heiress exposes billionaire brother at gala. Secret will overturns Whitmore fortune. Delilah Whitmore. From cleaning lady to CEO? Every major outlet wanted an interview. But Delilah remained private. Her only statement: I didn't come to destroy a man. I came to restore a legacy. Meanwhile, a full audit of the Whitmore estate began. The forensic accountants discovered massive embezzlement. Funds funneled into offshore accounts. Donations that never reached the charities. Investment fraud. Bribery. It wasn't just a personal betrayal, it was a corporate crime scene. Michael handed Delilah the latest audit report one morning. $80 million, he said. She blinked. Stolen? He nodded grimly. And that's just what we can prove so far. Delilah exhaled. How did he get away with this for so long? Michael shrugged. People only look when they're told to. You told them to. She nodded. Then let's keep going. A week later, the board of Whitmore Holdings convened for an emergency meeting. Delilah arrived wearing a tailored navy suit, one her mother once saved for in secret. Thinking she'd need it for a concert that never came. She walked in not as a guest, not as a maid, but as the rightful co-owner of the company. Let's begin, she said, taking her seat at the head of the table. One of the directors, a man in his 60s named Howard Greaves, looked uneasy. Miss Whitmore, this is highly irregular. Delilah cut in. The will is legally binding. You've seen the documents. I am now the primary shareholder. Another board member cleared her throat. What are your intentions? Exactly? To dismantle what my brother built, Delilah said, voice calm, and rebuild it from the ground up, in the image of the man who founded this company. Charles Whitmore believed in community, in education, in people. I intend to honor that. She laid out a plan. A full transparency audit, a new ethics board, reinvestment into employee development, charity partnerships, real ones, and a compensation fund for victims of Everett's schemes. Howard looked stunned. You're not angry? Oh, I'm furious, Delilah said, but anger doesn't fix things. Justice does. Meanwhile, Everett sat in a holding cell awaiting trial. His lawyer quit. His wife filed for divorce. His children changed their last names. But what hurt him most wasn't the prison walls, it was the silence from the people he once called friends. Patricia Lindley had removed every social media post featuring him. The mayor who once toasted him at city galas now denied even knowing him. Investors pulled out. The Blackwell name had become toxic. All because of a woman he once called the Help. 2 months later, at the newly rebranded Whitmore Foundation Gala, Delilah stood at the same podium where her brother had humiliated her. She wore the same red dress. But this time, no one laughed. She began. Some people asked why I chose to wear this again. It's not about revenge. It's about rewriting the meaning of things. This dress used to symbolize cruelty. Now it symbolizes change. Applause thundered. She continued. For decades, wealth has been used as a shield for the worst kind of behavior. That ends today. This company, this family name, will no longer be used to oppress. It will be used to uplift. The foundation had already donated $5 million to educational scholarships and women's shelters. Let tonight be the first of many. Delilah finished. Because power is not control. Power is responsibility. The audience stood, this time, truly in admiration. Delilah stepped back, eyes glistening, as an orchestra played a soft tune, the same one her mother used to play on the grand piano in Everett's house. Back when they still believed in dreams. 6 months after the gala, the name, Delilah Whitmore, no longer whispered through the media, it roared. Her photo graced the covers of Forbes, Time, and The New Yorker, not as a symbol of revenge, but as a beacon of redemption and reform. What began as a single night of reckoning had blossomed into a full-blown revolution across Beverly Hills elite circles. But Delilah wasn't done. Inside the executive suite of Whitmore Foundation's new headquarters, once Everett's private empire, Delilah now worked with a team that included single mothers, former factory workers, and even ex-cons. She believed in second chances. After all, she was one afternoon, Michael Joe knocked on her office door. "You've got a visitor," he said. Delilah glanced up from a report on their new apprenticeship program. "Who is it?" He hesitated. "It's your niece, Everett's daughter." Delilah stood slowly. "Send her in." A young woman, no more than 19, entered with uncertain eyes and a quiet voice. "Hi, I'm Ava. I just wanted to talk." Delilah gestured to the seat across from her. "Of course." Ava sat, nervously twisting a bracelet around her wrist. "I didn't know what my father had done. I didn't know about you." "Not really. He told us lies." Delilah nodded. "I believe you. I'm not here to defend him." Ava continued. "But I want to understand. I want to know who my grandfather really was. And who you are." Delilah leaned back and smiled gently. "Then let me tell you." Over the next hour, she shared stories of her mother's music, of Charles Whitmore's quiet acts of kindness, of the childhood that was taken from her and how she clawed her way back to the legacy that had always been hers. Ava wiped away a tear. "My father always said family was complicated." Delilah's eyes didn't waver. "It is, but truth makes it clearer." Meanwhile, Everett's trial began. The courtroom was packed. The charges ranged from embezzlement and tax fraud to obstruction of justice and second-degree murder. Dr. Hamilton, the family physician who had falsified the death certificate under pressure, testified in full. Everett didn't speak once. He barely looked up as the jury found him guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to 27 years in a federal penitentiary. When reporters surrounded Delilah afterward, asking for a statement, she simply said, "I hope this teaches others that no amount of money can erase what's been done in the dark. The truth always finds the light." Back at Whitmore HQ, change wasn't just cosmetic. Under Delilah's leadership, employees received full healthcare and childcare benefits. Formerly incarcerated individuals were given job training and roles in logistics, accounting, and administration. A yearly mentorship program matched high school seniors from underfunded schools with industry leaders. One of those students was a girl named Zoe, who reminded Delilah of herself at 17, quiet, curious, and underestimated. "Miss Whitmore," Zoe once asked shyly during a lunch event, "how did you get through the years no one believed in you?" Delilah smiled. "I believed in myself twice as hard." Eventually, Delilah received a letter postmarked from federal prison. The sender, Everett. It read, "Delilah, there are no words that can undo what I did. I don't ask for forgiveness. I know I haven't earned it. But I want you to know. I remember the night you were born. You were so small. Our father held you like the world had stopped. I spent years burying that memory because it scared me, how much he loved you. You are stronger than I ever was. Smarter, better. I hope one day, my children will learn from you the kind of person they can become. Tell Ava, thank you for visiting me. Your brother, Everett." Delilah read the letter once. Then again. She didn't cry. She didn't burn it. She tucked it into a small drawer in her desk, a reminder not of pain, but of transformation. A year to the day after she walked down that marble staircase, Delilah hosted the first Whitmore Future Gala, an annual fundraising event to provide scholarships for disadvantaged youth. The same red carpet that once welcomed shallow elites now welcomed single mothers, teachers, student leaders, and community activists. This year, she didn't wear the red dress. She wore a custom-made black pantsuit embroidered with tiny musical notes on the cuffs, in memory of her mother, who had taught piano until the day she passed. As she took the stage, the room went quiet, but not from mockery, from respect. She began, "1 year ago, I stood in this very spot and told the world the truth. Tonight, I want to talk about what comes after truth. The rebuilding, the healing, the future." She paused, scanning the crowd, because justice isn't a moment, it's a mission. As guests mingled under the stars that evening, a woman in her 60s approached Delilah. Her name was Carmen Rivera, a retired maid who had worked for the Whitmore estate decades earlier. "You probably don't remember me," Carmen said, "but I remember your mother. She used to sneak out leftovers to feed the gardeners. She was kind." Delilah smiled. "I remember her kindness too. I just wanted to say thank you," Carmen whispered, "for not just speaking for your mother, but for all of us." Delilah embraced her. "It was never just my fight. By year's end, The Whitmore Foundation had launched 3 satellite offices, partnered with 12 nonprofits, and received the National Medal of Honor in Social Justice. A framed photo of Charles Whitmore holding baby Delilah now sat behind her desk. Next to it, a new photo. Delilah with Ava and Zoe, standing outside the renovated Whitmore Music Center, once the site of a derelict ballroom. Now a place where dreams were rehearsed, not mocked. Her final interview of the year was with Forbes again. The journalist asked, "You've gone from cleaner to CEO. From scandal to spotlight. What's next for Delilah Whitmore?" Delilah leaned forward. "I don't need the spotlight. I need results. I want to create systems where people like me, like my mother, don't have to fight for dignity. I want to make sure no little girl ever thinks her last name defines her worth." The journalist smiled. "And your biggest lesson?" Delilah didn't hesitate. "The most dangerous person in the room," she said softly, "is the one you chose to ignore." If this story of redemption and justice inspired you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're watching from and stay tuned for more stories that remind us the truth always wins. And dignity never needs a price tag.